Welcome back to another edition of Virtue's Brand of Wrestling here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, being joined once again by Rob, sweeping the BigVitoBrand.com like a big tsunami. So what's up,
God.
man? Yeah, I got to put you over like that. You were at Fastlane.
Yes.
Live in Cleveland. I did not go. I was a wussy and stayed home in the comfort of my home with my plasma television. So you're going to have to break it down on what your thoughts were being in there live with the Smarks and some of the things that happened. So have the floor, man.
Okay. So a lot of it kind of jumbles together in my head just because I was there for like 4 hours. It's a long show. And I think the shows are too long. But so some of the memorable things is the crowd was very hot. And then certain times it was ice cold. It was literally hit or miss. So they were either really into it or they weren't. The best moments, I think, from the crowd interaction and everything else was the Miz and Shane. I mean, that was, in my opinion, that was the most I was entertained over the entire night.
That was the hot opener, like they like to say.
Hot opener, man. That kick with Shane doing the coast to coast, like that was sweet. The crowd was obviously white hot for the Miz and his Cleveland Browns pandering stuff, but I ate it, because I'm a mark.
Well, it's the Miz in Cleveland, though. That's okay.
Absolutely right. But there were some things that were perplexing. So I don't know if I missed it somehow, but they didn't really update the crowd on what was happening storyline wise. So, Kofi comes out to do this match, his little squash match or whatever, and the crowd's into it. And my God, the annoying thing was there were Kofi chants going the entire show. I don't know if you guys heard that on the stream of it, but probably every 4 or 5 minutes, there was a pretty big Kofi chant going throughout the crowd.
I heard it mostly during the, which turned out to be a triple threat match for the WWE title match. That's when I heard most of it. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit when we get to it.
Yeah, but they didn't tell us what was happening. So all of a sudden, for the triple threat match started, and then Mustafa Ali came out, and my friends and I are just like, "What?" Because they didn't announce it or do anything like that. But I thought it was a fun.
So time out really quick. So
right.
I wonder if they expect people in the live crowds to be on social media. I don't even know if they announce that stuff on social media as it happens on like their @WWE account. I just wonder if that's what they expect. Everybody sitting there looking at their phone during the events instead of doing Titantrons, which that's weird.
I felt like I needed to have like an AirPod in and just watching the stream of the network on my phone to keep up. Like I needed a companion app to watch it live in person. And that happened with both times. It happened with, he's like, we're going to go backstage and talk to the McMahons. Now, I don't know if they showed anything on TV of that meeting or anything, but there was nothing shown on the Titantron or anything for that match. So I was in the dark the entire time.
No, they did show Kofi. I mean, it was like trickery. I mean, they really made the TV audience think Kofi was going to be put into the WWE title match in a triple threat, and it ended up being Vince is like, you need to go out there now. And then that's when it ended up being that squash match or whatever that turned out to be with the bar.
Yeah, it was my friends and I all thought it was dumb. I didn't like it. It was just, I don't know, it was weird. There was a lot of good matches. There was a lot of, the women's matches that was the coldest I had seen the arena all night, was both of the women's matches. No one cared. I cheered for Asuka. I marked out for her entrance, and, I gave them the respect they deserve, but it seemed like the performers didn't care. Like they're not getting pushed. I don't know. They just didn't seem that into it. Honestly,
with Mandy Rose in a title match, I do not blame people for being cold to the Asuka match, especially the way they booked Asuka as the champion, making Becky tap out, and then she's literally hardly used as the champion, which is what WWE likes to do these days. Now it's kind of surprising. So you're saying that Charlotte and Becky, it was cold for that match too?
Not at first, but it's something you and I actually talked about, and I somewhat disagreed with it. I think selling the injury and making her this underdog, but like, it was bad to the point where it was just like, well, she's not going to be able to do anything. And if you have a little bit of an injury, I can like buy into that Rocky Balboa underdog story. Right. But she could barely stand. And after it went on so long, it felt like that match should have been really, really quick. And then the run-in was dumb. Like everyone was kind of stunned with the Ronda thing and no one really popped. Like everyone was just like, oh, okay, that's how the that's how the triple threat match happens at WrestleMania. Like, so yeah, and then the Shield match at the end of the night too was just, it's the Shield versus 3 random bad guys. So I don't know.
So it's almost like Vince McMahon is going out of his way to bury Becky and Kofi Kingston. The way that Becky's been like little Timmy. I said this. I don't know if I said it last week on this show, but Vince McMahon is retelling A Christmas Carol. Becky Lynch.
That's awesome.
Becky Lynch is little Timmy or whatever, Tiny Tim, whatever. And Vince McMahon is Scrooge, right? I don't know who the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future are, but it doesn't matter at this point. And then with Kofi's doing the same thing. He's making the fans, the smarks, think that their favorites are going to get buried. And it does lead me to believe that he's going to pay something out. I don't know if they'll all get paid out. Remember we talked about this? I mean, if Rollins, Kofi, and Becky are all champions after WrestleMania is over that night, I will be very shocked that Vince McMahon paid all 3 of those off.
It'd be too boring. The one in the middle has to lose to lower the crowd morale, so that way they can boost it back up at the end. Yeah, that's how I think it would make sense.
And I still am going to call, no matter what happens on SmackDown tonight, I think Kofi's still going to be in a multiple person match for the WWE title. Because say he gets that shot, right? He deserves it. The crowd's behind him, and Vince lets him face Daniel Bryan. You think what are they going to do with Kevin Owens now between now and Mania, right? He literally was in a match that Mustafa Ali came in to eat the pin. So, like, is all of a sudden Kofi just going to be one-on-one with Bryan and they're going to ignore Owens? I just see this being a multiple-person match.
It has to be. It might be a fatal 4-way. I don't know. I don't like that. I think, me personally, I think Mania matches should be one-on-one. That should be a blow-off match for big feuds. The only time that you really want to have multiple people would be maybe some kind of grudge match between factions or something like that. But for the most part, for title matches, I would rather see one-on-ones for WrestleMania.
But they got an 80-person roster these days, and that's why these multiple-person matches are so prominent now, especially on the big pay-per-views. So we will see if Kofi Mania is running wild. I am still skeptical. I mean, if they proceed with that, Kofi and Bryan one-on-one, and I'm standing there in MetLife Stadium, I will just be like, I can't believe this is happening because of one guy that replaced an injured guy. And then all of a sudden the fans got behind him. And you know how they're all saying, these fans of Kofi now, well, we've liked him for 11 years. He deserves this. Rob, where were they 3 months ago before Kofi ever had a shot at anything big? Were they saying push Kofi? I don't remember seeing any tweet, nothing. Nobody said anything about Kofi. And now they do.
Nothing. No, they don't. They don't say anything about Kofi.
Now, though.
Oh, now they do. Yeah,
now,
was, like I said,
they did 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago. They're Benedict Arnolds, in my opinion. They're just because you know what? They think that it could happen now because it's WrestleMania season.
Right. But weren't these the same people like 2 years ago that wanted the New Day to split and have Big E have a heel run with Xavier as his manager? Like, wasn't that the big thing happening back then that people were upset about? Yeah. So, and I think I sent you this in a private message. I feel like this is the only time of year that it's going to happen for Kofi because, like, they're not, and I challenge anyone to prove me wrong on this. I don't think it'll happen. They're not going to care about him in 3 months. In 3 months, if he starts winning a lot, oh, he's shoved down our throats. Oh my God, it's the same thing again. Are they ever going to change his music? 3 months tops.
When is Big E going to get the title? When is Xavier Woods going to get a crack? They're going to
Why not push Big E? He's the youngest.
Because
that's what we'll start complaining about.
We have solved the dilemma. We have it's the Smarks, right? With the wrench in the Twitter conservatory. If we're playing Clue, we just won the game. We just solved it. They want to get behind the person chasing it that hasn't been there yet. Once they are there, they don't care, and they find the next person that's waiting in line. And that is the truth, I'm telling you. Because what happens when they don't get pushed properly? Well, let's go back to Rusev Day. They were behind them. Rusev, right? Rusev Day, everything. Lana Day, Aiden Day. Once the fans knew Vince McMahon was not going to do anything with them, they backed off. If they're truly behind somebody, why are the fans backing off?
They didn't with Daniel Bryan. And look what happened, because they cared about him, though. These are flavor of the month things. And it's, do I think Kofi Kingston deserves that? Absolutely. But he wasn't built that way. It's going to take time. Why do we got to zap everything in the microwave? Why can't we just have this build up to maybe next SummerSlam or something?
Kofi right now he could be doing this, but he should be going for the U.S. title and Joe. That would be more believable. When
did that stop too? Do you remember back in the day that you would have that progression of like have great matches, then you would win a mid-card belt, then you might be a tag team champion for a while, and then if you really get over, then you will be put in that title match, and then you're established forever because they built you up.
They think that's what 11 years. Kofi had mid-card titles, tag team run with the New Day.
But they're the same titles they said are pointless. These are the same people that complain these titles don't mean anything. So then you can't say that and then prop them up and say this is why he should be champion.
Is that cat's name Kofi in the background right there? Please tell me no.
No, it's not. Her name is Jade.
Okay.
Destroyer of Worlds.
Anyway, we will see if Kofi Mania is running wild. But let's talk about Ronda Rousey. She did the shoot promo over the past week. It's a worked shoot. I don't care. I don't know who is in charge. All of a sudden I see Bruce Pritchard gets hired on creative, and now I'm seeing all the social media blowing up. I just feel like he's got his fingerprints on this stuff. Maybe like, hey, Vince, we should do things this way. It's the new generation of promoting. Let's use Twitter. I don't know for sure, but I can see the change in the last few weeks, because some people said Pritchard actually has been there a few weeks before everybody found out. So I believe between Twitter, among Twitter, for Becky, Ronda, Charlotte, that a lot of this is Paul Heyman and his backstage presence and Bruce Pritchard, because Vince McMahon he's too old school to do things this way. What do you think? And some people are believing it's a shoot to where Ronda's disrespecting the business, and that's what I love. But Rob, guess what? Bubba Ray came out and defended what this angle is with Ronda doing this. Chris Jericho, because it's making it captivating. It's getting people invested. What's your take on it?
So everyone says they want the Attitude Era back, and they can't do that because of the sponsors, but they can do it through their social media accounts. And when they do it, everyone complains. There's actually a funny video going right now where it's the Batista Triple H thing. Give me what I want. No, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, fine, we're going to give you what you want. And he's like, I don't want that. And that's exactly how fickle these fans are. So I don't know, man. I don't have anything to say about that. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
But I mean, I think it adds so that level of where some fans are actually believing Ronda's disrespecting the business. I love that.
You're getting worked hard.
Let me tell you something. WrestleMania is going to be in a hostile environment for Ronda and Charlotte, and Becky's going to capitalize on this because New York and people travel all over the world for Mania, right? But it's still going to have its local people where it was easier to get tickets for them.
Right.
They're doing the double heel now. Like, to me, it's like they don't trust Becky can get over with casuals, so they're doing the double heel with Charlotte and Ronda. So if Becky does go over, she just beat the two people that the fans hate the most. I think it's going to be awesome. I hope I see people getting just so angry they want to fight. I mean, I'm going to be there, and I love being in a place where you don't know if you're going to make it out unscathed. And to me, that's selling me on Mania.
That doesn't shock me that you would say that. That's the most virtue thing you've said today.
I mean, I'm going to have other people with me. I mean, no one met. God, right. It's going to be fun.
No, you're right though, man. I think it adds a lot to it. I think it's entertaining. I think some of the stuff is kind of like whatever, but at least they're trying to make something entertaining. They're selling me on the match too, because now I'm like 99% sure this is a work. All right. Especially knowing Vince McMahon and how much control he has over everything. Okay. Because if he didn't like that, it would have never happened twice. But it's allowing me to suspend disbelief and say, maybe this is real. Now I'm invested. Let's see what happens. And like you, I want to see what the crowd does. I hope it's a white hot good crowd. And I think it's going to make WrestleMania bigger than it would have been without it.
And to all the people, and this includes some indie wrestlers. I've seen indie wrestlers that are buying into Ronda disrespecting the business. I mean, I find more enjoyment than the fans reacting to that. At the end of WrestleMania for 2 years in a row, I'm serious about this, and I'm going to let everybody know because I'll be there. Ronda Rousey can be in the most captivating match on the card where everybody stands and watch. Last year, Kurt Angle, her versus Stephanie and Triple H was the hottest match on the card. I know going in, people didn't think that, but as it played out, everybody was on their feet for that match. And some other matches, people were chanting boring or sitting down or going to the bathroom. So for 2 consecutive Manias, Ronda could captivate. And yes, she's part of this. She is in the middle of this. Ronda Rousey could captivate a WrestleMania audience for 2 years in a row. And if it happens and I feel it like I did last year in New Orleans, I'm going to give her props. I'm good. And I'll give them props for allowing her to be in that position.
I think she's getting the right kind of heat as well. She's not annoying, and people, it's not like they don't buy into her. People are upset because she's hurting their fifis a little bit. But like, I think having a believable person who could destroy everyone out there, and how is it disrespecting the business to go as far as she's doing to try to promote the business? I don't know, but I'm excited for it.
Dude, I like how Aaron Rift was like, when Ronda shouted out that $60 pay-per-view reference to see an armbar, and some fans are in the wrestling bubble. They're like, pay-per-views it's $9.99 on the network. Pay-per-views were never that high unless you got HD. First of all, she wasn't talking about that, people. She was talking about what UFC pay-per-views run. 55%. Yeah, boxing's 100 sometimes, but UFC traditionally 55 for standard, 65 for HD. She said 60. I immediately knew what she was talking about.
Same.
But I love people, wrestling fans in that bubble.
They gotta be outraged, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. Any other chat about Fastlane or Ronda Rousey or Kofi Kingston?
I was 2 rows away from the Shield. It was cool, man. Roman's gigantic in person, by the way. I don't know why people saying that he doesn't look like he's healthy or some stuff like that. That guy's a monster.
Dude, him and Corbin, they worked really well together the last I know it ended up being Corbin kind of got out of that match last night on Raw, but I'm telling you, Roman can bump. I know you don't like his moveset. That's Vince McMahon presenting him that way.
Yeah.
But he looked like maybe a half a step behind, but not I can't even say really. He looked
Yeah, you look good. And my final thing to say about Fastlane is it looks so much better in person without that obnoxious shaky cam. I'm telling you, everything looked crisp, it looked good, and I think that shaky cam takes away from how talented these guys are. Roman is Superman punch. I will say in person, it actually looked pretty damn good. So I'll concede that much to you. I still think it's stupid, but in person, it's about 10,000 times better than it does on shaky cam craziness.
Well, we're going to talk about WrestleMania a little bit more on the other channel, on wrestlingwithwrestling.com. So we're going to talk about the road to WrestleMania. That's a plug for everybody. So, Rob, get your plugs out of the way, man.
I'm still just boring Rob, man. I don't have a cool handle. It's Xenomecha, Xenomecha. I'm pretty much here for the long haul, I think. So this is where you tune in to see me. You could follow me on Twitter. Sometimes I retweet things that are funny, and then I harass people. I don't know. But, yeah, follow me there, Mr. Virtue.
Yeah, and dude, you're not only on Virtue's brand of wrestling on the BigVitoBrand.com, you're on Virtue Wrestling with Virtue. I got so many of them on WrestlingWithWrestling.com. And look, I am trying my hardest to have you on as a 5th panel member on the No DQ review, and I'm hoping within the next few weeks that'll happen. And then if it goes well, and because with 5 of us, it might cut into talk time. That's why we got to try it out 1 week, and heck, maybe we'll boot somebody else off. Anyway, no, we'll figure it out.
Get rid of that Rift guy.
So there you go. But he kind of records it and does all that legwork, though. So I am Virtue. This is Virtue's brand of wrestling here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And as always, we will be back next week. So, Rob, thank you. See everybody next time. Kofi Mania, baby.